Going into picks and bans right here, my guy's first pick, Sylvanas the first ban. No surprise, that's been dominant in this Season 3 meta.
Just the amount of sustain he can bring in the mid game as well as the early game as well. His AoE auto attacks are very, very useful for clearing buffs, putting out free poke damage on multiple targets. And then the root on top of that, his early game is actually a lot better than people realize.
Yeah.
And that's why he's prioritized so much at the moment.
Especially because the support isn't spending a whole lot of time in the duo lane. It is spending the majority of the time in the middle lane. Kronos and Zeus, the other bans. That Kronos ban specifically targeted at Zaxi. That's his favorite god.
And when you think about his late opponent, Transonics here, Transonics tried to go on a run last year of showing that he can play every single god in the hunter role.
Yeah.
Or at least all the top name hunters. He went through so many different ones each week just to show he's got
I think he got every hunter. I think he actually played every hunter during the regular season, which is just insane. But it's going to be Transonics getting the first pick, and that's just not any hunter. That's Jingwei, probably the best hunter right now.
For the most part, yeah, as of right now, still Season 3 patch. Obviously, Season 4 patch hasn't hit yet. So this is kind of our first little look at the console side of things based off what we saw at the World Championships.
Yeah, we saw that the meta kind of developed off of what we saw at HRX in the PC side of these open brackets. Interested to see if it's going to be the same sort of way here. With the Jingwei first pick, though, that leaves open Nike for Private Checo.
I was going to say, I think that's really shocking to see Nike get picked up second here. I don't like my guys going for Jingwei first when Nike's on the table. We've seen how influential she can be. Multiple roles available to her as well, especially solo and jungle, the predominant ones we've seen a lot of the time here. But can you really let someone with a global ultimate like that, sorry, global passive I should say, not ultimate, come into play so much? It's very risky.
I mean, Jingwei has a semi-global passive, so that kind of matches up there. Freya, the other pick, kind of interested to see that Private Checo goes for the hunter right after my guys has already selected theirs.
Saved it.
Yeah, exactly. A Willish and Tyr, the other two picks for my guys.
Love
that
those.
Tyr for Wolves, I mean, that's his premier god.
Not just that, but the Gravity Surge on a Wheelix can be set up by Tyr's Fearless as well.
Very true.
And against Nike, we've seen that at the weekend in the open bracket in PC, that they can be influential of shutting down a Nike. Nike likes to get in and out of the fights. She needs to use that leap, and then the Gravity Surge is coming into play.
Especially in the early game, because Nike isn't good. You don't want to pull a Nike in the later stages when that Sentinel of Zeus can really make an impact in the team fights, but her passive doesn't come online until later in the game. She doesn't get that tankiness either. Khepri, the last pick on the right-hand side for Private Checo. Now the bans start coming through. Guardians for Private Checo. Ares, like the Kronos was a shot at Zaxi, that Ares, a distinct shot at El Brochacho.
The one thing I can see from both rosters so far is no sustain in this game is going to be here. Ra, Sylvanas, Guan Yu, they're the top three in terms of the sustain gods that we see a lot of the time. Will we see somebody else? Is the question. The likes of Chunga could potentially come out here, but it's less likely.
Could be. No Shaliber in the middle lane for El Brochacho's team, so that's the pinnacle of the Chunga play right there. Thor banned away by my guys. I was going to go back to this Awilish pick. You like it for that matchup, but I also like it because Chaotic Purpose, formerly unaware, likes these pressure junglers, and Awilish is one of the best at that.
Definitely fantastic rotations as well with Suku on the back of that, get from the right-hand side all the way to the left-hand side of the map if required to make sure that they're ahead of time, especially with no Giannis picked up yet by either team. But I would like to see the Giannis potentially come out from my guys here because it will allow that transition even quicker. A lot of mobility on this team now.
Very, very much so. And Covey, that's one of the players that I want to be looking at. It's going to be Thoth for him in the middle lane. That long-range damage is going to synergize well if El Brochacho can initiate with that Xing Chen that is going to be in the support role. What does Xing Chen bring to the support role that makes him a viable choice there?
Realistically, Xing Chen in the laning phase is okay for the most part. He's not going to be the strongest in terms of lane clear, but we're not looking at lane clear anymore. We always look at the 3v3 fights overall here. Xing Chen has a lot of sustain in his kit. His passive alone gives him plenty of HP 5 and multiple ways to set up and also escape bad situations. Definitely a beads burner is what I would call him, though, with that ultimate, because it will set up Tyr and a Wheelix.
And there's a lot of purification that's going to be needed from Private Checo, because not only do you have the setup with the Tyr, but we didn't even talk about the knockup from Awilish, and now the knockup with Xing Chen, all going to synergize around that Awilish pick for Chaotic Purpose in the jungle. And it is going to be Erlong Shen solo lane for Stormy Rays. We haven't talked about him at all. He spent the entire last season basically in the hunter role for Soar, but he's a native solo laner. How do you think that transition is going to go for him here?
It's going to be a rough transition overall, let's be honest. From going from the hunter style, obviously at the end of the season, the hunters were left 1v1, but they're range god for the most part. The solo lane is generally a little bit more focused around melee specialists, the tanks, the frontliners. Right at the start of the game, though.
Yeah, well, I have no idea why he's on this right-hand side. He's pinned. He's got no purification. Knockup gonna save his life for now, but not enough. Stormy Rays able to pick up the hunter, and he was just chilling by the solo tower.
That was all down to Zoltak there. Sorry, Joltak, I should say, on the Khepri. He did all the work in that engagement for the grand scheme of things there. He manages to get the abductor very, very early on. The follow-ups there from his team as well to support with the pin as well. But then not just that, the body block to stop him getting in tower range was more insurmountable to make sure he couldn't get back to safety.
And that's one of the best things about Khepri is that gigantic player model. It can come back to hurt you because you feel like you're getting hit by every single skill shot, but in the body block scenarios, no better Guardian than Khepri. In the first blood there, going into the solo lane, that's going to make Wolves' job a little bit harder in a matchup that can already be difficult. That cripple pin still Season 3 patch, like you mentioned. It's going to be tough for Tyr to use that Fearless when he's hit by that cripple.
It is a benefit right now, though, that the Transonics doesn't lose any sort of experience at the start of the game. Obviously, with the passive and it happening before the start of the game, they're in a good position. But on the right-hand sade, we've already got a fight going on.
Shell popped right now by my guys. Chaotic Purpose just trying to do the damage. Joey Donuts, he does have the reinforced Greaves, but by Chaotic Purpose, he's got the Traveler Shoes. He's plucked. He's going to take a lot of damage trying to take an exit. Wolves there body blocking for him, but no skills available to finish him off.
Wrath.
Two-man Wrath Stun gonna secure that escape. Brochacho doing his best to peel for his new teammates as well.
Grand scheme of things, this goes in saving Private Checo's favor for the time being. They don't get any farm out of this, but what they do is hurt the enemy team. Potions are being forced now earlier on the side of my guys, which means they've got less sustain, and they're still not losing farm on either side.
Wolves here, he does have the Fearless, so no heal available quite yet, not until level 2, and like you mentioned, it's all about these 3v3 fights, though instead of the mid laner, it's along with the solo laners right now. Transonics and Covey were able to pick up those mid camps on the left-hand side, it looks like, and they're just farming up, trying to get a little bit of a lead on the left-hand side, because like you mentioned, Hindu, that right-hand side fight not going so well so far.
It's been interesting so far, because I love what Joey Donut did there. He actually went into the jungle and stole the elementals on his own, so he didn't split the XP 3 ways, which means they've got a small lead right now after my guys push up the wave and try and rotate into the jungle. Still all the buffs available, though, but it still works out well for Private Checo.
The early clear, I think, benefits my guys right now, though, in the jungle and solo side of the map. You're going to have that Awilish and Tyr both very, very good at clearing waves and jungle camps. If they can stay as this 2v2 sort of combination, they could probably get a little bit farther ahead just in clear time alone.
I've got to say, though, on paper, I've not really managed to speak about the roster so much, but on paper, I love the composition that Saving Private Checo have put together here. It's got a bit of everything, and one thing that we always look at is magical carries having mobility, and what is Nike going to be doing this whole game? Giving that passive over to Zaxi on that Freya. If Zaxi can get going well, and the Krakens can be on point, they've got a very good comp here.
And remember, the Nike passive power that you gain, that extra power, is just a number. It's a scaling number, and that works better with magical carries because they get more magical power than physical hunters do. So that's going to synergize even better on that side. As well as along with the Khepri, you're going to be able to protect that Freya even more so.
Exactly. The composition of this team is a lot better on paper here. They've got two divers with Nike, with Erlang Shen, but they've also got Khepri to peel for the backline if required, or revive someone who goes too deep. Other side of things, though, my guys, it's a little bit skew for me. They've got some combos here, but like Toth doesn't really fit into any of these for me. He's just there because it's Toth. It's kind of how it feels like.
Long range damage is what he's going to provide, no matter what else is around him. Covey just now hitting level 5, a little bit behind in terms of net worth, but just by a smidge, right behind Truancy. And like you mentioned, Truancy's a name that a lot of the SCL veterans should know. It was the mid laner for Elevate. Oh, hold that thought, Brochacho. He's going to eat a Kraken in the middle lane, rooted in that whirlpool, but he's still trying to jump out. He's got that hook sky slam, Chaotic Purpose. He's here now, rooting Joltak in place. Final Judgment, not going to provide that damage that's necessary quite yet.
Brochacho's still hanging around, though. It's a little bit risky for him to do so. Needs support because Nike's here as well.
Oh, the jump.
Off the mark, but still needs some body blocks. Over the wall comes Wolves with the Lawbringer just to push them further back.
Speeds forced there onto Truancy, but Zaxy's made the rotation as well. Wolves, he's slowed down because of those pulse and the Whirlpool. Valkyrie's discretion can be able to pick up the solo laner. Stormy Rays is here to watch as his Hunter is able to rotate and pick up that kill.
Very messy fight in the mid lane in the grand scheme of things there. Brochacho did a good job of his shell to absorb a lot of the damage with that one. Popped it early for the Kraken, and it actually helped him through the Whirlpool as well. What ends up happening off the back of that, though, is Wolves' rotation. He goes too deep. He's there on his own. His team are trying to escape. He pushed them back enough. Should have just walked away from that instead. Dove too deep. Rotations come in. He pays the price.
That Mark of the Vanguard coming up big there for El Brochacho. That pickup instead of for the standard Watcher's Gift to help with the farm. He knows he's going to be focused and uses that, especially effective against that tick damage from the side.
And now in the mid lane, Brochacho going to be able to farm up a little bit on his own. He would like to share that if he can, but he still wants the experience for now. Right inside, though, still pressure.
Stormy Rays, he got pulled underneath the Fearless, but he's still in some danger. Wrath going to buy him just enough time to make sure that heal goes off. And there you see the synergy still not quite there between Chaotic Purpose and Wolves. The Gravity Surge actually pulled Stormy Rays out of the Fearless, which would have prevented that heal and ultimate from going on.
And you talk about synergies here for both these two teams on paper. They've not really scrimmed together much. They're probably just trying to wind up for the start of the season here. So we're going to see small mistakes in terms of what we'd expect in the regular season from these teams once they're all on the same page. So the problem is, though, is that those small mistakes will impact how this set goes.
Without a doubt. And remember, this challenger, this open bracket for the North American side is not nearly as lengthy as it is in Europe. So you only have 2 weeks to find who's going to be the ones moving on to relegations. Kovi's going to move on to the grave because of that Kraken from Truancy. Scarab's Blessing on Joey Donut. He's going to be able to jump away. No Gravity Surge available for Chaotic Purpose. 1-for-0 in favor of saving Private Checo.
But however, my guys are in a bit of a decent position here because he invaded the blue buff knowing that they saw Nike force back to base, but they've hung around a little bit too long here.
The 2-man root there from Joltak. Shell popped from my guys, but the 3-man Fearless to make sure his teammates survive. Wolves, that's why he's a tier player. He's been playing this since he came onto the console scene. This is the god that I knew him for, and it's scary when he gets on a roll.
And that's the difference between the first attempt at defending his team and the second attempt. He knows to fall back immediately. The problem is they're trying to clear a wave, and the blue buff's being invaded.
But it is a 2v3, no Wrath available for either side. Brochacho, he's in trouble. No mana, he gets pulled back. Joey Donut's able to pick him up. Chaotic Purpose, he's got to hop on Suku. He's got to run away. Wolves has just got to stay and watch as the rest of Saving Private Checo actually back up. They're not going for the buff invade.
No, because at the moment they realized that the response could come through. A Wheelix was potentially still around, as well as Kovi. Kovi with the Judgment, it can do enough damage to secure a buff on its own if need be. So the invade could be beneficial for them, but knowing that people are back, they're going to go in again.
Chaotic Purpose, he's got to use Purification. Joey Donut looking for the knockup. Final Judgment almost picks up Truancy, the dash forward.
Oh, Wolves didn't see it.
Can't find it though.
Kovi can't find it, and Wolves walked around the corner at the right time, but he was too busy looking towards his blue here trying to defend that, but the blue's stolen as well.
Stormy Rays, he's going for a ride in that whirlwind of Rage and Steel. He finds the 2-man pin, but he doesn't have the 72 transformations. Transonics is here all the way from the faraway land of left lane,
comes Zaxi
looking
as well,
to pick
though.
up the kill. Zaxi, he's not going to be able to save his teammate. Stormy Rays does fall to the rotation of Transonics. Joey Donut uses the quick leap, and that immunes that Gravity Surge.
However, Transonics still going in here, looking to try and pressure the back line, but Kefri's back in the fight once more. Nike Ultimate used to slow them down and turn this around. Abduct on point, and there's Zaxi for the cleanup crew.
Brochacho is the sacrificial lamb. It's Chaotic Purpose still fighting there. No Purification available for him. Kovi, lots of damage, but not quite enough. He did use his dash, so I don't know if Joey Donut knows that Invade and Punish is down. Brochacho just seems to be having a little bit of trouble. Even with that Mark of the Vanguard, he's still been the focus target for Saving Private Checo.
Well, the other issue is as well is they've drafted the Jing Tenning and is against a Poseidon. Poseidon great with the cripples to lock them down over and over again. Erlang Shen has the cripple on top of that. This is going to be a rough game for Brochacho on a Jing 10 here. Yeah, he's got sustain, but he needs a couple of items online. All Guardians suffer in the early game from getting picks if they're in a bad position. And the one thing that the way Jing 10 escapes is the leaps and bounds, but he can't if he's crippled all the time.
I'm surprised to see him go for the Traveler's Truce here. Do you think that's because he
needs the gold.
He didn't go for the Watcher's Gift?
He needs the gold more often than not, but also if he can buy time the leap away, it'll bring him out of combat quick enough that mobility will kick in.
Doubling up on that HP 5 as well that Xing Chen is so known for. Right now, 5-2, read the kills in favor of Saving Private Checo. They've got about a 2,000 gold lead. Experience, also about 2,000, right around 1,600, but the big one is in the middle lane. Truancy was 2 levels up on Kovi last time we checked in, and that we were about to talk about him before a fight broke out, but this is the matchup, another matchup that I'm looking at. Truancy versus Kovi. Kovi was around the PC side, Challenger Cup player, moved over, played on Kingdom for a little bit towards the end of the last season, but Truancy, the Elevate member, he looked very, very strong, but then didn't come to land with the team.
And because of that, like, we now look at him again, trying to find a new team. Hold that fort, mid lane, pressure onto the Kefri.
But there's the Kraken, but it's the Feather Step immunes it for Chaotic Purpose. Kovi, he's still got that Final Judgment, charging it up. No valid target, though. Even with the rotation from Transonics, that knock-up going to do a decent amount of damage, but not quite enough yet.
I love the idea from Wolves to rotate as well, but Stormy raises matching pace, and you can also see Zaxy's joining this as well. Both teams looking to fight in the mid lane a lot of the time. The good news is that both teams are actually rotating to support, although one of them could have took a risk, you know, stayed in lane, farmed up a bit, denied some creeps from that.
But with how much fighting there's been so early on, I mean, 7 kills in 9 minutes, you don't want to be the guy who's still sitting in lane, especially whenever this is a new team environment. Oh, Transonics, he's forced to use the ultimate on the left-hand side. Zaxi does a great job of forcing that and still holding on to his ultimate all by himself.
I do want to see Saving Private Checo now try and pressure this left-hand side, knowing that Transonics' ultimate is on cooldown. They have Freya there. They can get her another kill. Feeding the Freya is something you'd love to do if you can. And obviously, with that being down, it makes it a little bit easier to gank a Jingwei, even though, you know, it's still Jingwei.
It's still Jingwei, and she still has Purification. After hitting level 12, she now also has that Sanctuary available as well. That's one of the things that makes Jingwei so potent, is that safety in lane.
And one of the other reasons I'm talking about maybe trying to gank Transonics now is because, take into account, both these Hunters were left alone at the beginning of the game. They've had free farm with no rotations from their team to soak experience, unlike what Brochacho's doing now. But the level gap, you can see it's starting to stretch in favor of these carries. The longer this game goes, they'll hit late game in mid game if this carries on.
And that's been the meta for the most part towards the end of Season 3, is leaving the Hunters on their own island. That's the new solo lane, basically, is on the left-hand side, and it's more focused on this right-hand side. Stormy Rays, he's focusing on the enemy speed buff. He's going to be able to seal it with that Wrath of Wolves. He's angry about it. Lawbringer over the top at Stormy Rays, transforms into the Mink, and he is out of there. No speed buff for Chaotic Purpose.
The idea from Wolves with the Lawbringer there was good, but at the same time, he could have covered the option. If he would have sat in the jungle and waited, he could have found out which way Yalang's going to go, catch him on the rotation, punish him that way. Committing like that over the wall means, well, I know you're here now, so I'm going to go this way instead.
So not only does Stormy Rays get the buff, but he also gets the ultimate out of the enemy tier. Joey Donut's going to get knocked up, pulled in. Purification going to save himself for now. Covey still waiting to use that, but around the backside, it's Stormy Rays.
However, he's thrown straight away by Brochacho towards the tower. The team are trying to collapse from Checo to support him now. Sustaining is a big thing on the side of Private Checo here, keeping each other topped up and make sure they don't take too much damage. But look at how they're moving as a synergy here. I really like the way Checo is working as a team. They are in and out as a team. They're listening to comms quite clearly.
Very, very much so. And Joltak in that support role, a guy who's been right on the cusp of the pro scene on the console side for quite some time. He seems to be doing fairly well on this Khepri. Brochacho, meanwhile, on the left-hand side, clearing out that ward.
I thought he was going to rotate in, but I was like, well, he's low on mana. It's a little bit risky, but he drops a ward down and continues to farm up.
And it looks like Brochacho is going to be going into a Hide of the Urchin here. Do you like this build? He's been getting focused a decent amount, or would you rather see him go for that Aura style of build?
It might not be Hide here. It could be Spirit's Robe coming out from him as well. Obviously, that CC protection will help him out and get some bolster the protections a little bit earlier. Hide of the Urchin, with how this game's going right now, he's been involved in 2 kills. Okay, cool. But realistically, I'd rather see the Spirit's Robe, and I think that's where we're going to see him go. Very,
very good. We just got a word from production that Joey Donuts 82, while that's a great name and all, it is actually camping solo of that was on Kingdom, I do believe.
Clearly, he doesn't want to camp solo anymore, is the reason he's rather talking about Donuts, but talking about Krakens right now, as we'll see a free kill for Truancy. Truancy's been on point with these Krakens so far.
And that's a great combination, is Khepri and Poseidon. They just work so well together. That abduct directly into the Whirlpool. Wolves, he's going to get whooped into that Whirlpool as well. That cripple just making Wolves' life so difficult. Now he's silenced. Joey Donut's got just enough mana to fire off that ultimate. Zaxy's able to pick him up. Final Judgment was fired as well, but it's the Scarab's Blessing buying Joey Donut's time. He will get reset. Kovi's forced to dash away. It's Transonics against the entirety of Saving Private Checo.
Go back in. He's going to go back in. Of course, this is Transonics. This is all he ever does. But straight away, they all fall back and just leave Erlang to make sure Transonics can't get involved in the fight anymore.
Even with the level disparity in favor of Transonics, you're right, just not quite enough damage. Doesn't have that quite enough penetration yet. Got the Executioner, but not enough. And it's, again, the Xing Chen getting picked on by this Khepri Poseidon combination. And it's just so potent because not only do you silence them directly into the Whirlpool that he can't jump out of it, but you can also just lock them in place for so long. The Trident swings immediately into the knockup afterwards from Tidal Wave. So difficult to deal with as a support player.
The big thing from my guys here is what's really showing to me is the composition isn't really great as a team, which I mentioned earlier, but also there's clearly no one following a leader right now. There is no leader on this team. I can see that by the way they're playing. They're all going in one at a time. These are all fantastic players. We know that. But the synergy's not there yet. They're all just doing their own thing, is what it feels like. They're playing at the level they used to. The problem is that they need one voice to communicate what's going on.
And remember, Brochacho, he spent the majority of his recent pro career on a team with Chapo. He's been the primary shot caller, though I can tell you from experience, Brochacho an excellent shot caller in his own right, but you need to gain the respect of your teammates. Transonics, Wolves, they've been used to listening to one unified voice in Clow in the middle lane, not used to that support being the real shot caller, and then Covey, not exactly sure who his shot caller was on Kingdom, but having a bit of trouble there. Trouble on the right-hand side as well. Covey, he's going to find the enemy soul laner. Chaotic Purpose very low, as is Wolves, both leaping away, but a clean pick, 1 for 0 in favor of my guys.
It was a good Kraken coming out there. However, the pressure is definitely the side of Private Checo off the kill that my guys got there, just because they can start to push down the tower, but they're going a little bit too deep instead of maybe focusing on some tower push.
Transonics is the one going deep now, using that agility. He's silenced. There's the Whirlpool falling a little bit below half health. He has that Odysseus bow almost finished off. He's got the charged bow right now, spreading out that damage evenly throughout the team fight. Transonics, man, he just wants to fight all the time.
But so does Wolves, realistically, and Chaotic Purpose too, so he's trying to push his team forward to do this, and they're actually making it work now.
Kobe's gonna find Joey Donuts. Joltak very low, but Zaxi helps out his support. Transonics, he's gonna dash forward, can't quite get the airstrike off.
Not worth it at all, because that just fed Zaxi 2 kills, and this could be 3.
Now the whoop onto Brochacho, no mana left for him. A little bit of damage coming out from Kobe, trying to help out his support, but it's not gonna be enough. Truancy is gonna take that 3rd kill away from Zaxi, but he's fine with that. 4-0-4 for the Hunter. And then in the middle lane, 3-0-6 for Truancy.
And look at what's happening here. Transonics is trying to do the legwork for his team, trying to force the fight a little bit harder. However, he's not the one that's ended up getting involved in a lot of the kills. It's Zaxi on the other side who's in the right position, waiting for the situation to develop and turning up at the right time and go, thanks very much for hard work, boys. Transonics' scoreline does not really deserve him credit as a Hunter in a way because of how aggressive he's being.
And taking a look at the net worth, it's Zaxi now on top significantly, 700 gold in the lead over his opposing Hunter and in the lead above everyone. Gold leads about 2,400 in favor of saving Private Checo, but again, it's that experience difference that really concerns me.
Yeah, really is a big problem here. Only 16 minutes in, that experience, yeah, it's divided 5 ways, but that's 1,000 experience each, if you just want to divide it by 5, to each member of saving Private Checo, and that experience matters because the levels come into play, and those levels is extra free power, it's extra cooldown potentially, or extra crit for the likes of Jingwei.
Extra HP as well, going to be able to make sure that you're tanky enough to survive that extra damage that's coming out from the side of my guys. Red buff going the way of Zaxi, and I love this decision. Giving it to your Fed Hunter, allow him to make plays just like this. Transonics dashes in. I don't think that's the way he wanted to go, but a big crit's going to dissuade Zaxi for now.
Mid lane, Kraken again. The Khepri's ult was already forced, but he's going to fall down as well to Covey. So an engagement there that looked like it was on Checo, who went for the engage more than likely, but it was turning his head. More than likely, actually, it's a lie. Brochacho probably ulted there from what I can tell, onto Joltak, and he turned it potentially.
And then you can use that Gravity Surge after the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel to pull someone even farther back into your tower, and that's what really should have been happening throughout the entire game. We've seen the focus onto El Brochacho, but Joltak is an easy pick whenever you use that Gravity Surge to pull him away from his team. Khepri does not excel in the middle of a group, unlike a lot of other Guardians.
We mentioned in picks and bans too, Joey Donut playing this Nanki, he was going to be focused by those Gravity Surges. I love the fact that he started off with Purification here, because he knew he was going to be focused time and time again. And so now the attention turns from Wolves and Brochacho to burn these beads early on, because if they can burn these beads, it will set up the Gravity Surges as time goes on.
So do you like the build path now, though, from Joey Donut? Do you like the fact that it looks like he's going to be going to a Void Shield 3rd item? Not really, it's more of a hybrid item than a straight defense item.
It's a strange thing that he went for Reinforced Greaves at the start of the game, but then transitions into damage afterwards. Like, is he trying to, like, do a bit of both here? He should probably pick one over the other.
He's trying to do it all, basically. I agree with you. I like the Traveler Shoes pickup for Chaotic Purpose. Easy to proc that Talaria gold from a distance with Moonlight Charge. It just gets you closer to those expensive items like this stone cutting that he's picked up.
And we talk about Talaria a lot because of the fact as well, it has HP 5 regen. Now in the jungle, you don't go bombers first sometimes if you're going to go aggressive, but it does put you in a decent situation, unlike where Transonics was just there.
Yeah, as always there, Joey Donut trying to get a little bit of extra poke, as is Covey, and we haven't talked about Covey too much. Lacking in the farm department, despite the 4 kills, he's down 2 levels to his opposition in Truancy, but his player damage, he's done very, very well with positioning well and getting that damage off.
I like this call coming out from Checo now to try and force a fight or burst it down in time, and the burst is even better because the way Truancy's playing with these Krakens, they would have had a safe spot.
Oh, Joltak, he's gonna get picked up, but the knock-up onto Covey, Whirlwind of Rage and Steel was already used. Kraken's gonna find 2. There goes Chaotic Purpose, he's already dead. Covey's gonna fall as well. Stormy Rays picks him up. Joey Donuts on the left-hand side, brawling against two Wolves, trying to keep the rest of Saving Private Checo out, but the double whoop from Zaxi, right into the double whirlpool, right into the double knockup. Two more likely to fall here.
This is definitely 4 deaths, I feel here. Lowbring on the right from Wolves will get him out. Transonics will want to fight. I know Transonics is that guy, but he probably shouldn't hang around much more. Has his ultimate available over the wall, but Zaxi's waiting.
He's got the whoop. He's looking for it. Transonics, he's going to find it. Does he have the agility to get out? No. Sanctuary going to buy him a bit of time, trying to use those minions to immune those auto attacks, but Stormy Ray is going to find him anyways. 4 kills go the way of Saving Private Checo, as well as the Gold Fury Hindu, and the tower looks like it may fall as well.
And I talked about the Kraken just before that fight, and Truancy again comes up big. If you've noticed what Truancy's doing here, he's not scared of getting the kill, because a lot of mids like to go for the big time kill or hit multiple targets. What he's waiting for at the moment is Chaotic Purpose to ult, and the moment he pulls somebody in, the Kraken goes straight onto a Wheelix's face, and obviously the team's going to be in a position to follow up on that, so they get hit too, and it turns the fight.
This draft, we've talked about it a lot from Saving Private Checo, but it really does rely heavily on Truancy for that AoE damage in team fights. Everywhere else is basically single target as far as damage goes, outside of Sentinel and Zeus for Joey Donuts, and he's absolutely pulled through thus far, looking very strong on that. And Covey there, the positioning on the right-hand side of the wall while the rest of the team was diving in towards the Gold Fury pit, left him isolated. He used Sanctuary to immune that Kraken damage, but it didn't matter. He was knocked up. He was locked in place in that whirlpool.
It feels like I just don't like my guy's comp on paper right now. I said that at the start, and I kind of feel the same way. It doesn't really do everything. It seems to be a lot of focus onto Chaotic Purpose, finding these gravity surges with the likes of everybody being able to knock up. But then Covey's just a random god thrown in there on this top that I think they could do more with.
There he goes. Chaotic Purpose again. That's his second death, both by hand of the Kraken from Truancy. Now it's Brochacho plucked back in. Gonna take a little bit of damage. Root gonna lock him in place for half a second before he jumps away. All the while, though, solo tower falls. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel just to get him out of that. Damage there from the Whirlpool. Final Judgment not gonna find a home there from Covey. Brochacho, he's gonna fall as well.
And this is one of those situations where you need to cut your losses. You can't fight this fight, because otherwise you're gonna get picked off one at a time like it's happening now.
Zaxi just doing so much damage right now. He's gonna pick up Covey. Wolves, he's on the run. It's only a matter of time until he falls as well. This is what Wolves is known for, just being an annoyance, trying to buy as much time as possible. But Zaxi, he's gonna die, right?
Yeah, he'll die eventually.
Okay, there it is.
Don't worry about it. He was gonna go down. Respawns are coming through, but now Private Checo can push for a tier 2 on the right if they want here. Instead, they're gonna fall back. Kind of like the call there. They're a little bit low, worried about reinforcements, obviously.
I don't think they're falling back. I think they're falling towards the Fire Giant. Chaotic Purpose is respawned. It's on the head of Joey Donuts to zone out the enemy team. Fire Giant getting low. Wrath is available for Stormy Rays, and it's gonna be secured. All 5 members of Saving Private Checo, they're going back to base with that Fire Giant.
Love what Joltag did at the end there. Kepri, a lot of support players will go unnoticed, but Kepri just sits in front of him and goes, hey, fight me. And the moment the Fire Giant goes down, he tries to get as far away from the fight as possible.
And Joltak has looked very strong. There was a short time in the mid game there where the focus transitioned onto him, and he was punished for it because of that. But ever since, positioning in the back, split up from his team, saying, you can focus me if you want, but do you really want to waste that many skills on a Guardian at this stage in the game when he's this tanky?
I do love what Brochacho did as well, to be fair. And yeah, wasting skills on a late game is always a issue here, but we do see he went for the Hide the Urchin start originally. Realized he had to change up his build. I would have liked to see Magical Resistance earlier as a first priority, knowing he's going to be against a Freya and a Poseidon, but he's more worried about early game is why he was investing in the Urchin potentially.
A Winged Blade could be a huge pickup here for El Brochacho as well. Those slows have been really hurting him, not only from the Whirlpool, but the Pulse slows, as well as the slows from Sentinel and
Zeus. But I do like that he picked up a sprint here for the whole team to get some sort of impact of that get out of those whirlpools a little bit. I have a feeling, though, this might be a little bit too little too late now for my guys. It's going to be a hard road back in the way they're fighting right now.
Stormy Rays, he picks up his 5th. Brochacho, his 7th death of the game. And Joey Donuts, he's not done. He's still looking at Covey. He's going to dash away. Chaotic Purpose, rooted, plucked back in. No Kraken, doesn't even need it. Truancy's going to kill him anyways. Another kill goes the way, the 6th of the mid laner.
Yeah, and look at the carries. The carries on the side of Saving Private Checo have not died once this game. 6-0-11 in the mid lane, 6-0-8 in the Hunter role. it's a free field day for them right now. They're getting the peel they need. The front line is doing what they need to, and Wolves is just trying to make things happen.
He's trying to make it happen, but the
Straight to a
Whirlpool
Whirlpool.
right away. No fearless for you, my friend. Zaxy's going to be able to pick him up. Phoenix is going to fall. Kraken's going to hit 2, just as a zoning tool, basically. Tons of damage as well. Padding those numbers is Truancy. He's already on top of the damage numbers, but he wanted some more. 6-0-2, and he's looking great right now.
This should be a tier 2 tower on the left-hand side. They might even try and pick Rochacho, but a bit of a miscommunication on skills there. Still means
Doesn't matter.
Rochacho's down. Take into account he's only level 12. The highest level against him, so the lowest level against him is 14 right now.
Yeah, and that's the enemy support, so he's not even
Yes.
worried about that level of damage either. All the carries, like you mentioned, 0 deaths, level 20s for 3 members for saving Private Checo. And that's bad because you've got multiple members level 20, but it's extra bad when that enemy team has a Nike. All 3 goals completed now. You're going to get as much movement speed, as much power as you can from that passive, and you can just see Truancy, he's already pretty quick on that Poseidon with that passive movement speed, but you add in Nike's path to victory, he's a race car.
Definitely. Super, super fast the whole game long as well. Truancy, I'd even go Fatalis for funsies right now, just because I'm in such a decent position. Look at me.
Wow.
I called it. I was like, you should go Fatalis. I would.
You should do this more often.
If you are this far ahead in build, right, and you are this strong, mobility is an extra survivable tool, but also a gank potential tool as well at rotating. You've got Night Passive and the Trident. Combine those with a Fatalis, you're going to swing hard as well.
That is true, and I love the Spear of the Magus pickup from Truancy here. Understanding that he's not the only source of magical damage, and you don't see the overlapping Obsidian shards between the 2 magical carries. You've got some flat penetration courtesy of that Spear, and then the percent penetration for Zaxy. He's the one doing the big chunks of damage with the autos, whereas Truancy's there to lay down the whirlpools, slow the enemy team with the Gem of Isolation, and set up for his Hunter.
And now it's all from Private Checo's point of view. It's wait for the next Fire Giant to respawn and look to siege that one down again. Unless they catch people out of position.
Wolves is out of position. He's forced a Lawbringer away, and I love the identification, like you mentioned, just waiting for the Fire Giant unless someone's out of position. Just like you mentioned, Tier 2 tower is going to fall, extending that gold lead up to, 15,000. And 15,000, 19,000 experience.
It's huge.
The only Transonics level 20 right now for my guys. Kraken's going to come out, not going to find the home that time, but it doesn't matter, I don't think. Final Judgment going to poke down Zaxy, not really any damage at all. Valkyrie's Discretion, that's going to finish off the enemy soul laner. Wolves is going to die yet again. Chaotic Purpose,
1 by 1.
There's the pull, but
One
who
by
cares?
one.
You're dead too, my friend. Zaxy, he's going to pick up Rochacho, his 2nd kill of the fight. 3 dead the way of my guys, and that's not all that's dead. Their Titan's gonna fall next.
They're tanking it up already. With Phoenix down in middle lane, they can look to try and end here at the moment, and I don't think the boys of my guys can stop this from happening. They're getting them low. It's a great airstrike coming out from Transonics, but it's not going to be enough to stop them. Saving Private Checo. Take game 1.
25-7, and that really